Bob writes about it. Jim talks about it. But Chuck did something about it.
Foreman on a big hole across the 10. He's something else. He's out in touchdown land. He's something else, baby.
Now, here's longtime columnist Bob Sansevere, Fox 9's Jim Rich, and the great number 44,
Double 4.
Chuck Foreman.
Welcome to the JimBob Sports Jamboree with Vikings legend Chuck Foreman, another legend, the superstar Mike Morris, a third legend, Jim Rich from Fox 9. I'm Bob Sansevere.
You're a legend.
No, I ain't no
Yeah,
legend.
yes, yeah,
Please.
Yeah, I was going to say.
In what world is that? In what other dimension?
In writing, you're an author. You have books, podcasts.
Yeah.
You've been a fixture on radios across the state for decades.
Well, Jim would know. You know
I say.
what? Jim is the dean.
Because I had to listen to it all the time.
He's the dean of Minnesota sports directors,
You
so
think
he would
ain't?
be the guy.
You think you think he ain't? My
No,
God!
But yours pales in
I'm honored to
comparison
be
to your
near you. I had
list.
enough of this. I was going to say a dirty word, but enough of this stuff.
Manure.
Last week we talked about all the positions except for DB, but the top three in each position. But what we didn't talk about, because we wanted to let it stew a while, and we wanted to get more. We wanted to. People had heard so much about the draft, we figured we'd wait a week to talk about it. It's the first draft coming out of it that I thought the Vikings. I thought they've had really good free agency signings, but I think that they finally had a really good draft. But they didn't have a lot, maybe that's why. But I like Donovan Jackson. I thought that was a really good pick for them.
No doubt.
And Mike, you would know better than any of us being a lineman.
I mean, he caught my eye watching the national championship game. I mean, I wasn't looking for him. Obviously, I didn't know that we'd even be interested in him. But that kid stood out to me, and I was watching the offensive line play.
Yeah, he's athletic.
Very much so.
Very much. He's
Very
of course,
athletic.
he played basketball too. And those basketball players that transition into offensive linemen, especially tackles, their movement, they got great feet.
Now,
Agreed.
I am not saying he will be him, but I think he will come in. He's left guard. Randall McDaniel was a left guard, played bad, very athletic, but he came in and became a starter on day one. And this kid, I don't think there's any doubt he's going to be the starter from day one.
I think so. I think he's that good.
So and again, I'm not comparing him to Randall because Randall. How many guys have ever been better than
HOF.
No, he's
you can't
Hall of Famer and all that? But
That's
the
right.
fact that he could start right away is huge.
Right.
Well, here's the thing that I think you guys need to discuss a little bit is that the Vikings had limited picks, and
They had four going
in other drafts, Kwesi was let's make a deal.
Right.
He kept backpedaling, getting more assets.
Mm-hmm.
And Rick Spielman always wanted to have 10 picks in the draft. That was the number he always shot for. So I was surprised that the Vikings didn't step back, especially when the teams that were right behind them made trades. So that those clubs called the Vikings and said, hey, give us your spot. We'll give you XYZ, and including one team that got a first rounder next year for backpedaling, but he didn't do it. So that was surprising.
I think
to
the
me.
coach had something to do with that because when we talked about it weeks going in, the most glaring position that had not been addressed was left guard. I mean, they got a new center, they got a new right guard, they're set at tackle. But that really, they addressed the secondary. They addressed everything but left guard. And I give them credit for going after what I believe, or they believe, was the best left guard available.
Well, and I think what it tells me, Chuck, is that they said it from day one when they got beat in the playoffs last year, that our interior defensive line, our interior offensive line needs to get better, and they have followed through on it. They could have stayed with Bradbury at center, but they even upgraded a position they already had a starter for and under contract, and they showed him the door. So they really are committed to this line play.
The general consensus was Brett. He had to be moved because he just couldn't handle that.
Garrett Bradbury?
That pressure up front there.
Patriots will find that out.
But that's their problem now. But anyway, but I think what they have in play, the two, the guards, the center, that in itself, believe me, as a running back, that gives you a little confidence, knowing that you have that in place. And then, I think the offensive line play has improved, and they over the latter part of the year, kind of got a little shaky, but
Chuck,
I think they addressed it.
Your favorite offensive lineman was a left guard, wasn't he?
All right, Ed White. That's right.
But Mike, doesn't that? I mean, what it shows to me is that they made a plan and they're sticking to it. You've heard teams say things and then they go nilly-willy, go somewhere else. Like he could have traded that pick,
Right.
left that left guard sitting there. But we got 4 picks in the 5th round now. Where we get more bodies coming in.
Right.
Here.
And a lot of people would say that you can get a really good, like a high-level offensive lineman still in the 3rd day of the draft. I don't know about that. I don't know about that. And he was ranked, he being Donovan Jackson, was ranked 4th nationally coming out in the draft at his position. And I don't know if that was right and left guard or just left guard. But they took him 3rd out of those 4. So they valued him more than somebody else. I don't know who the 4th was on that list.
As well as I do. Being in I remember going into the All-Star camps when I was playing, and all these guys were supposed to be so great, because they came from these big name programs and they had the names and all that. And I remember coming in there, going to practices and stuff, and looking at the offensive line, looking at all the other my competition and stuff like that. And there's one thing I know. I know we got a pretty good scouting department, because I think one of the reasons why they stayed quiet is because they knew it was a deep draft at certain positions. I think they did their homework right there, and But I always, when I remember going in there and I'm watching these guys that are first team All-Americans and all that, and I got in there and I'm like watching and observing those guys. They were good. But you come up. Wait a minute, he can't play with me. You know what I mean. I mean, when you're talking about your skill, I'm talking about me and my. I'm like, wait a minute, he's good, but
I got him.
Yeah,
I got him. Yeah,
yeah. You know that.
You go to camp,
you read about all these guys, and they're supposed to be all everything.
Oh yeah.
And and they come from big programs. They get the PR out there, but when it comes time to get down to the nitty gritty, the cream rises.
It does.
To the
it
top.
does. And I agree. I totally agree. I mean, they always tried to replace me every offseason. I mean, you're going to try and find a way of getting 2 positions out of the long snapping spot. So they always had a big time offensive lineman or tight end that could also snap, and try and do that. And I'd have to beat him out if I was going to stick around. That's all there was to it. I could play decent offensive line, but it wasn't like drafting an offensive lineman who could do a little long snapping. And in this league, you can't just do a little long snapping either, by the way. You have to do it right. You have to do it right. If you're going to spend, God knows, $1 million or so on a kicker and a punter as well, you better set him up right. You got to get him a ball he can punt. You got to get him a ball he can put down and place kick, or you've wasted a lot of money on two kickers.
But to their credit, though, they recognized that you were still better than anything else, that they didn't try to force a guy who can play more at everyday position and also long snap. So they always realized that you were the guy that should do it.
Thank God they did, because I wouldn't have played otherwise. But I think that when they used to call, like when Mick played, it was considered the long snapping chores. Basically, it wasn't a position at all. It really wasn't. But it was. Bobby Bell was a great long snapper with the Chiefs. Some really good football players. I mean, legit Hall of Fame football players who just handled the long snapping. Mike Webster. And in fact, my best moment ever, probably in my career, was trying out with the Chiefs when I first got there, and Mike Webster coming out and snapping in front of me, and then another kid, and then myself, and Webster just going over to Brian Schottenheimer, Marty's brother, who was the special team coach, and saying, "This is unbelievable. I don't have to long snap anymore." And he pointed at me. I thought, I just outseated Mike Webster for a long snapping spot, and I thought, and he was the one that already said so. It wasn't even the coaches that said so. So I thought, wow, there's a feather in your cap right there when you get that from Mike.
Was he the starting center for Kansas City at that point?
He was not the starter.
Because it was like
Tim Grunard,
here, right?
and Tim Grunard got hurt in training camp, and Webby is sitting there as an assistant coach with Howard Mudd and saying, he's sitting there as a player and knowing that he's out for the season now. They came in and announced it in our meeting room, and Webster looks at us and hears that Grunard's out for the season. He goes, "I guess I'm going to have to play." That's what there was another 2 centers in the room, and he knew, Mike knew, and Howard Mudd knew that wasn't going to take care of it. And Webby is sitting right there coming out of retirement. And he looks at me and John Alton, he goes, looks like I'm going to have to come back and play. I mean, unbelievable. And so he steps back into pads and just plays. Just takes off. He plays. I don't think he missed a year. I think he had just retired, but he came back and he said, I'm just going to have to do it again. And he did the whole year. He held up the whole year.
Wow. Well,
yeah.
It's hard. Did you play when Langer came here for a year or two? Were you still with the team?
Jim Langer, yeah.
I think so.
Because Mick Tingelhoff was the starter, and Langer, they just brought him in.
Came in.
Because it was pretty much,
I remember that.
That Miami had moved on. But imagine that, 2 Hall of Fame centers on the same team.
Unbelievable. That's unreal.
To
that
have
really
something
is.
like that.
And that's like this kid we're talking about right now, Donovan Jackson, is that he's going to line up at left guard, as we think he is. But that's been occupied by Milt Sunday, Randall McDaniel, and Steve Hutchinson. So he's got some
and
big.
Ed White.
Ed played right sided.
No, he was left.
He was left.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, that is just incredible to try and step into those shoes.
Well, we'll see. He looks like he
looks great to me.
Yeah, he looks.
And he stepped in at left tackle when they needed one at Ohio State and didn't miss a beat. This kid is, I think he's special.
Well,
I do too. I agree.
I watched him when he was pulling on some of those plays, those highlight films he had.
Incredible.
He can get out there.
Well, and I think that's something that shouldn't be glossed over. Changing positions in your draft year.
Right.
For him, as you said, he came in as one of the biggest guys at his position, and then they get an injury and they say, we want you to switch. Mm-hmm. And to me, that tells me he's a team first guy. Right. Not like, well, this is going to ruin my draft stock. I got to talk to my agent. I got to talk to my advisor. I'm not just going to do this, because there's probably a ton of players that they say, hey, we've lost a corner. We want to switch you and play that. And they probably tell them no.
Yeah. I mean, that's the ultimate confidence,
for a guy
right?
to do that on Ohio State, knowing that this team has a shot at winning a national championship, and he's putting his personal future perhaps at risk, because if he sucked out there, he would have plummeted like a rock, and he would have been a third-day guy.
No question.
That says a lot about him and his character, and not his confidence in his abilities.
I mean, if he says I can get out of here and go play left tackle, that's enormous. Right. To think you're going to play at Ohio State, and probably with the direction they were heading with that team, you're going to play the best of the best coming down through the playoffs.
You're not a Bethune-Cookman.
Exactly. And so that is incredible. That's incredible. And because a lot of guys would never go from guard to tackle. I think some would switch from left guard to right guard. I don't think you're going to see many guards want to go out and play tackle. No. That's all there is to it.
All right, Beth, we need to take a quick break. Before we do, though, this segment, by the way, this show brought to you by the Window Store. And Tyler sent us a little note telling us our new deal is 35% off of every product we sell. That's a great opportunity and a great chance to save some money.
Way to go, Tyler.
From a great company. Well, that's why he's not here.
Standing ovation.
He's busy handing out those discounts.
He's listening, though. He's listening.
Yeah, he's busy.
You got to check out the Window Store. It's the best in the business, as they say. All right, we're going to take that quick break, come back, and we're going to talk a little bit more. Let's talk about some of those lesser known, some of those undrafted free agents. Now, the Vikings, the best ever was John Randall. Right, I mean, undrafted free agent, now a Hall of Famer.
Right, yeah.
They've had some
might
good
be
ones.
the best.
It'd be hard to beat that. It'd be hard to beat
Well,
that.
how about
not Stephon? He was a fifth or sixth.
There
were other good ones.
Adam Thielen.
Thielen, not too shabby.
That was good. That was good.
Yeah,
not John Randall, but it was damn good getting.
No,
getting
yeah, but he
a good player, great player.
He's still in the league.
Yep.
Yep.
All right,
Yeah.
let's take that quick break, and the JimBob Sports Jamboree will be right back. We are back with more of the JimBob Sports Jamboree. Vikings legend Chuck Foreman, the superstar Mike Morris, Fox 9's Jim Rich. I'm Bob Sansevere. And Mike, I'm looking for a generator. I would think that you know somebody who could help me with a generator.
Think about that.
Would that be
Yep.
that Polici Hardware?
I know it is. I mean, you just took the words right out of my mouth. It was on the tip of my tongue, in fact. There are 4 different locations, Polici Hardware stores in Zumbrota and Farmington and Rosemount and Egan. They've been in the business for 30-plus years. So make sure that when you need something like Bob does, an emergency generator, that you go down and ask one of the Policis to go hook you up. Like they'll even bring it down there and dig the ditches and hook you up.
Whoa!
No, wait, they won't do that.
Oh.
Damn it! I need help in here. Anyway, they will take good care of you. They'll find you a generator and they'll take good care of you on the price and whatnot. So get down there, do that. They also have specials on paint all the time. They can match the paint up for you, send you down the road with the right color, and DeWalt Power Tools, Craftsman Power Tools, $30 off discount-wise on the select DeWalts and $20 discount on the select Craftsman. So get down there. Don't be a knucklehead and try and pull it off by yourself. You'll never get it done.
I just need one to power, like my horse, an RV type thing. But you got to tell this story about what you did in college. It's you worked with generators, but not like the
did
kind
I ever?
need.
Yeah, well, really big ones. We were installing for an electric company that I worked for every summer out of college. I'd come back home and work for these guys, and they were installing emergency generators for hospitals. So enormous, right?
Bigger than a bank vault.
Oh yeah, for sure. So you have to pour a huge slab, and guess who gets to dig the slab and guess who gets the shovel?
College boy.
Me, right? Yeah. Put the guy on that guy on the shovel, and don't let him eat you out of house and home, which I did do almost, but.
Well, but
Yeah.
if you getting from point A to point B when you had to go there, then maybe not. But now, where would you go to get a vehicle?
Well, if it were me, I'd just put my thumb in the air and hitch on down to 35W Cliff Road in Burnsville and just go into the Dodge dealership down there. Dodge of Burnsville. You'll find everything down there, new and used, doesn't matter what you do. If you ask the right people, Adam Saba, Mark Saba, they'll put you in charge of somebody. They won't put you in charge. They'll put somebody else in charge of you and get you through the dealership in a proper fashion. So they'll walk you out on the lot. The inventory's out there. You name it, they've got it. New or used. Just tell them what you're looking for. Maybe you have a trade, or maybe you thumbed your way down there like I did, and they'll take good care of you. Service department to boot. Okay, so make sure you get down there. Dodge of Burnsville, 35W Cliff Road, and tell them the superstar Mike Moore sent you, for God's sake.
And let's not forget again. By the way, I'm gonna steal a little bit from you. Let's not forget that 35% off every product from Windows Store, which is sponsoring this show. All right, now Jim,
Yes.
in the undrafted free agents, I always go through the list and I try to figure out who might be good. Now there's a guy that my friend from Sports Illustrated, John Plume, he's the managing editor for NFL content. He loves this kid from Maryland. And there was a wide receiver out of Maryland that did pretty good. He was a late-round pick for the Vikings, Stephon Diggs. That's not too bad. This kid, Ty Felton, could be outstanding.
Yeah, well, he was third-round pick.
I thought he was like a fifth-round pick.
Nope. He went in the third round.
It doesn't matter. He's from Maryland. This kid is too, right?
That's right.
So was Randy
He's
White.
from Maryland.
Hey.
Well,
There's another one. That's a pretty good one, too.
Exactly, and I think what they're looking for here is the Vikings have so many weapons on offense already, but I think there's a lot here that they're looking to add. Even though you already have Justin Jefferson,
Right.
You already have our guy, Mr. Speedy, the wide receiver, who's faster in his car than on the field.
Jordan Addison.
When he's conscious and not sleeping.
Correct. That's right.
Yeah.
He also sleeps in the car, but that's
Whoops.
another story. And that should be a storyline coming into camp, and that will probably cost him 3 games to start the season. So that's probably another reason why the Vikings were in the market for a wide receiver. But then you got Hawkinson, and then now you have the running backs that they can involve. So you're thinking, do we really need another wide receiver? But when you have that third wide receiver that can really open things up, I'm assuming that that's where this offense can really become one of the best in the NFL. If you have 3 wide receivers that can burn you with Jefferson, Addison, and now Felton.
yeah, but they had Powell too, right?
Yep. They had Powell. They had Naylor. But
they weren't that bad.
They weren't that bad, but they were those kind of guys like, if they catch this and they miss one tackle, they're gone. Where Felton, I think, has that speed element that they were looking for. And he's also a guy that they say doesn't go down after contact. So that's 2 aspects where you're going to have to pay more attention. And this, ideally, would take more pressure off of Jefferson, where he's not going to get triple teamed because Now there's 2 other legitimate wide receivers out
So
there.
if he's not going down on contact, he must have learned from another Maryland man, the spin doctor. He must be using that spin move.
I don't know if he's using that, but having escapability is not a bad thing.
Now he's dual threat on returns, right?
Right. And,
Punt and kick.
Another point is the Vikings last year were 3rd overall in explosive plays. That's like, 15, 20 yards downfield, right? But the Vikings were 27th in yardage after contact. So that means basically wherever they threw the ball, that was the end of the play. And what they're looking at here is to develop more of that. Turn that 5-yard play into an 8-yard play. Because obviously, Bob, that opens up the playbook when it's 2nd and 2 or 3rd and 2 versus 3rd and 5.
Well, I mean, run more routes like they ran Jerry Rice. A lot more post routes, and
I don't think he was
all
on
the
the
times he
Vikings
took
last
off. He'd run that thing, and they just throw the ball to him, and he would be gone. I think Justin Jefferson could do that too. But this Felton kid, he may have the speed to do that. Now, Chuck, I want to ask you because he does punts and kickoffs. How tough is that to do both? Is it? I mean, did you do either? Did you do either in college or
In college, I did
both?
both. Yeah, punt.
You did?
Punt returns and kickoff. But I didn't do that after what. Because back in my time, you had to play freshman ball. But when I got to be a sophomore, play on the varsity, I was playing so many other positions that I didn't get to.
And they want to protect
but it's different, getting that ball in a kickoff, and you can kind of look at the field.
Can't look at anything when that punt's coming.
But when that punt's coming, they conversion on you, and you only have like half a second to make a decision. Your first step better be the right one. And the punt returns, you can kind of observe the field and say, okay, where am I going to go? And then they'll call the play right or left or up the middle. But
Mike, you had a different perspective of that because when you would snap the ball, certainly on punts, you saw everything developing.
Yeah. I mean, it's different covering down on one of those. And what I really got the most out of was snapping to them in practice and watching what the ball does on a punt, especially if there's any wind out there. But even if it's no wind at all indoors, a good punter can have the ball turn over at about 3 seconds hang time, at about 5 to the bottom. I have no idea what's going on there. Who was that? Don't ever let that happen again, Brady. So the deal is that the ball comes down on an angle, whether you know it or not. If it's nosing down, it falls from right to left on an angle if it's a right-footed punter, and the exact opposite if it's a left-foot punter. So that's why Bill Belichick is always looking for a left-footed punter, because it's so odd for a punt returner to look at that falling the opposite direction and going in and trying to catch it.
How different is the spiral for that? Just never mind the left to right or right to left, just having a different, spiraling in the opposite
spiral
direction.
makes it go the other way. It falls from right to left and then left to right if you're the opposite kicker. So the spiral is completely tight as a pass, as any quarterback could throw it. When they hit it right, it is absolutely, and that's what makes it turn over. They call it turning over instead of fading out into a flat bounce. They can turn it over and get the bounce back so you can get it down on the.
It's incredible.
It's incredible. Yeah.
Now, Jim, our friends up in Maple Grove, what are they? We have anything with them?
Well, just that, any time is a great time to swing by and visit Maple Grove. ExperienceMapleGrove.com is the website. Got lots of good things going on up there all the time. Restaurant capital of Minnesota. People scoff at that, but once you start looking at it, you're like, wait a minute. They got one of those there? Or they've got that family's restaurant right there? They've got a lot of great things. They got Chuck's favorite place, Pittsburgh Blue.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite places.
He's a great place.
He's been up there as well. Yeah. So check it out, and it's warming up, so all the parks are opening up, ready to go. Check it out, ExperienceMapleGrove.com.
And experience this, the JimBob Sports Jamboree. Take a quick break, and we'll be right back. Brought to you by the Window Store. 35% off. Welcome back to the JimBob Sports Jamboree, brought to you by the Window Store. Vikings legend Chuck Foreman, another Vikings legend, the superstar Mike Morris, a legend in the world of media. Fox 9's Jim Rich and little old me.
No, you know what? I figured out.
Would you stop?
Everybody's telling me, "Oh, you're the
dean."
Yeah, you know why? Because I wasn't paid as much as the others, so I could quit like they did. That's what happened.
Okay, no one's going to argue on that one with you. That's actually true. All right, now this is a great statistic. Never before has every team that was the visiting team in like the second round of the playoffs won. They've gone on the road and won, and that's incredible when you think about it because it's higher seeds. They're all higher seeds in the second round. And the Timberwolves, I just want to talk. This thing we don't know how long it's going to go, but we do know it's not going to be a sweep by the Wolves after game one. The Warriors are coming off a hard-fought, emotional Game 7 with Houston. They got 1 day to turn around. I thought for sure, and I said it'd be the kiss of death, that the Wolves would win. Most of the media thought the Wolves would win and still think they'll win the series. And then in the game, Steph Curry, one of the greatest shooters, if not the greatest of all time, he pulls a hammy 13 minutes in with 13 points, and you figure they're dead. They weren't, because frankly, the Timberwolves have what I consider a pseudo-superstar. I don't care what you want to say about Anthony Edwards. He's a world of talent. I don't think everything is where it needs to be because he does not raise his game every game. He'll come back and have some great games.
He's still very young. You still have to.
There's a point where that doesn't. You can't keep saying he's very young.
He's not over 25. Yeah, he's 23 years old.
23, Bob.
When you were 23, he had already won Rookie of the Year, right?
All right, stop it.
Am I right?
Yeah. Okay.
So did Anthony Edwards.
You were one of the best running backs in football,
right?
And you didn't have games where you didn't show. How many times you have one yard in the first quarter, first half?
Okay.
Right, first half, 1 yard.
Right.
He had 1 point in the first half.
Yeah,
that's what it's like. And he's on life support as a player.
Yes.
And that's his life. That is his system. He's flatlining right now.
Yeah.
He's flatlining.
Let me know. Hey, that blood sugar needs to be checked.
Something's got to be checked on him because his coach went after him last night.
Oh, that's what I thought was.
That was a good thing
after that game.
That I thought was the most surprising thing because Finch usually kind of goes, it's game one. We just didn't feel right. We'll be fine. He came out and nobody even really asked him about Edwards. Right. He brought it up and said, "You are the guy. I don't need to talk to you about bringing your game, your leadership to the team." That's what I thought was amazing.
Which tells you he's talked to him about it many times, I bet.
Right.
Now, he will have great games, but he's going to have games like this, and I don't get it. Because why doesn't he just start a game and just drive to the basket? Doesn't matter. That's a great defense, but he will score when he drives to the basket or get fouled.
I just think everything about his game last night was not on. He couldn't even make a layup. No. Layups that he normally would make. Everything was short, or he just wasn't. He wasn't himself last night. I'm gonna give him a pass for last night.
Mike, are you worried though that Finch came out with guns blazing, going right after Anthony? It's only game one. It's not like game 3 and we're down 3-0 and it's like, dude, you got to do something. I gotta pull out my bullets because I've had lots of coaches say, you get 3 times a season to yell at your team. And after that, there's no effect. It's just white noise. They don't even listen.
They don't buy your lines anymore.
I mean,
they just don't.
Right. So you've been in those locker rooms where coaches come in screaming, throwing things, and you guys are all just like, okay, we've heard this before.
Yeah, we did, and we probably needed to hear it. But the superstars on the team, honestly, the big timers, the big guns, shouldn't have to have that conversation, and that's who he was going for last night. So that speaks loudly to the person that needs to hear it, and he's probably not used to hearing that a lot. I know he's young, and maybe he doesn't come and get him because he doesn't want to throw him off. But when you have to do it, you have to do it. And there's nothing more powerful than doing it in the media right after the game on TV. That hurts. That stings a little bit. So I know that by now he's had a conversation with Anthony Edwards by now, too, about how that went. But can he let it get to him, or is he going to let it work for him and have the right mindset the next time he goes out there? I got to think that maybe we'll see a better game out of him.
I think that he's a guy with a world of talent, but I think it's come too easy. I don't think he works at it the way that a lot of superstars do.
Yeah, I mean, if you're a true superstar, and Chuck knows this, the best of the best players that you've ever played with or me, they work endlessly. The really good ones are smart. They're fast, they're strong, everything, but they have a great IQ and they watch tons of film and they work hard in practice. You don't have to tell them to. They are going to. And if you just follow their lead, you're going to be pretty good.
But from what I observe with Anthony Edwards is like, all you got to do is just play the game. Because I see him get caught up a lot of times on the calls and, the other team's down at the other end of the court and he's still worrying about the calls. I think it's a maturity thing with him. I think he's got a world of talent. And I think it was the right time for the coach to say something to him because everybody's talking about him being the next face of the league. Well, then this is the time you show him that you have that talent to be the face of the league. And he needed to hear that, in my opinion, because I think sometimes, you believe your own print.
Yeah. Yep. And your point about the superstars doing it on their own, in the media, we get to see some stuff. And like Carlos Correa with the Twins, he was the only one on the field. It was opening day down in St. Louis. He was the only one out there 2 hours before the batting practice started, doing stuff, getting his body right. He's dealing with his plantar fasciitis, so he's doing all these exercises. Kirill Kaprizov, I've seen him at wild practices where the trainers come out and yell at him to get off the ice. I got a life. I got to go home. I got to put your stuff away.
Yeah.
He's out there shooting pucks, trying different angles. We've seen it at Vikings. Moss on the jugs gun. He'll walk over there. We used to see that when we were allowed in Mankato at the end of practice. He'd walk over there and they'd be firing footballs at him. So, you guys know way more of this than I do, but these are just the observations that I've seen where the top end guys just are doing it on their own.
I think it's in any profession that you have. You put the work in, you're going to be better. As far as sports goes, there you got the physical aspect, and then you got the mental, and then you got and commitment's always with everything. And so with all those three things put together, but sometimes when you're a young guy like that and you got that amazing talent, because he didn't even seem like he was. Not his really, really aggressive self last night. I don't know why, but he seemed to be off.
And Bob, I'm sure you've seen superstar athletes doing stuff on their own.
The true superstars do a lot on their own. I'm not saying he's got superstar talent, but he doesn't. We should not be seeing this guy scoring 1 point in the first half. That's horrific for a guy who's supposed to be a leader of a team.
And so can we discuss the Wolves and their lack of 3-point shooting?
Oh, that was just all.
The lack of making it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, yeah.
They set an NBA record in Game 5 against the Lakers when they missed 40 3-pointers. They attempted 47 and made 7. That was an NBA record. But then that record stood for only 4 frickin' days because the Boston Celtics played the New York Knicks and they missed 45 3-pointers. The Celtics
Sometimes you're off when you're trying to put that ball in that little
How
hole
do these
there.
coaches not say, boys, let's get a little closer to the target?
Yep.
One
more pass. One more pass.
And then last night, the Wolves didn't make a game one, I should say. They didn't make 1 3-pointer in the first half. What were they, Brady, at the break? 0 for 15? 0 for 11?
16, 17, I think.
Yeah. Isn't that where you'd say, hey, guys, you can shoot from closer in, maybe.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, but I'm gonna address something that you guys have been saying about he has to mature. He's 23. This is his 5th year in the league. I don't care what his age is. You should be NBA mature in the 5th year in the NBA. There's no excuse for what he's done, except for, honestly, the only excuse is he's lazy. He doesn't feel he has to put in the time, or maybe he felt coming off that the Warriors are coming off of Game 7. We're rested. We'll be fine. We just have to show up. There's a lot that this kid has to do to become the face of the NBA.
An awful lot. When you think about Michael Jordan and some of the greats in the past, he was willing to play with a 102 fever in Game 7, and he did great. You've seen him do all the great stuff, and it's because he wanted to. There was a lot of want to. And if you don't want to play like that, if you don't know or care, that's the worst kind of thing you could possibly have as an athlete. If you're a guy with all the talent and your attitude is, maybe not tonight. I mean, for me, I don't want you on my team. I don't want to play with you. You know, I just get out.
Well, you don't have to bet because Randy Moss, the whole I play when I want to play. He always plays.
Oh my God! And people would say in the media that he doesn't play, he takes plays off. I mean, are you kidding me? I mean, Randy Moss would run his rear end off, and then he'd sit still and draw two people to him at the line of scrimmage. They'd have to honor him, and it would open the field up for somebody else. He did it on purpose.
Yeah,
they had to stay tight on him, even when he was galloping, not running. They had to cover him. They had to, and the other guys were getting open. You know, he wasn't taking plays off. He never took a play off in practice.
No, he
not
was,
one.
He was what Anthony Edwards should aspire to.
I mean, he should. He really should. I mean, I don't know what kind of effort level he puts in practice on a daily basis or from game to game. But
right, and we're not allowed to see it in the NBA. They don't let us in for practice. We're not allowed to hang around there.
I mean, I would be willing to say he's probably not doing all he can do. You have to,
and it rolls to the rest of the team.
Absolutely. I mean,
when you're supposed to be the leader, you got to lead.
But this is the first game now. I mean,
I know, but it doesn't matter what happens to me. It doesn't matter what happens on the rest of they could wind up winning this thing handily, never go into Game 7, but there never should have been a Game 1 the way it was.
Well, maybe this would be a good learning experience for him because, like, with everybody talking about him,
it better be,
and so are we. So he's got an ego. Then you better. If you got an ego like that, and he has one, you know, you don't want people to talking about you like that.
All right, we got to take a break. We'll take a quick break, and then JimBob Sports Jamboree. Be right back. We're back with more of the JimBob Sports Jamboree. Vikings legend Chuck Foreman, the superstar Mike Morris, Jim Rich from Fox 9. I'm Bob Sansevere. Just a quick note that Jim, tell everybody because we're not going to see him Game 2, 3, or 4. I'm talking about Steph Curry. So the Timberwolves should be in great shape to set up this series to end in 5 or 6.
They should be. They flew Curry back after Game 1, private jet, got him back out there so they could start working on it. But they say it's a grade 1 hamstring, so that's not a good one to say the least.
These two guys know how long a hamstring could put you out.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's everything. It's everything. You can see the purple the next day, the bleeding down there, and just pockets down below your knee. You've got a bad one. And then it goes first, second, third degree sprains. But if he's pulled that thing, it'll do it again on the first, second play. If he tries to play, I would
that's
say
the goofiest thing
it's
about
recurring,
it because it feels good, and then all of a sudden you just take one step,
and it's gone.
Right, and you go right back to square one.
Do you have a hamstring issue?
Not really, but the treatments for those things in my era, there was hardly any. In your time, maybe it got a little
ultrasound,
bit better.
yeah.
But right now, they got stuff they can do that.
It's pretty amazing.
It's amazing.
I've seen some of the laser and some of the different.
I'd say he's going to be back before.
Well, the fact that they flew him back tells you that they think they can get him ready.
Well, I think so. Why waste time with him sitting around here? Let's get you out of here, and let's get you back.
At least try.
See what we could do. And like Chuck says, the mentality of Curry is that he'll do everything he can do, and he can beat the Timberwolves on one leg as well. That guy is crazy.
He's the only guy I paid to go watch.
Exactly. That's just what I was going to say. I mean, this may be in the long haul great for the Timberwolves, but then they'll move on. But what a great opportunity to watch one of the greatest of our time. And he would have been here for 3 games, and now we got robbed in just 13 minutes of his greatness.
And we talk about, obviously, the GOAT, the greatest of all time, Jordan. The people said some LeBron. He is the GOAT of just being a pure shooter.
Oh, I think so.
There's nobody better than that. Nobody.
And the Timberwolves could have had him.
Yep, think about that.
What did they do? Johnny Flynn?
Yep, Johnny Flynn we decided to select and let Steph Curry. We drafted 2. Ricky Rubio. We had 2 back-to-back first-round picks, and the Timberwolves selected Ricky Rubio and Johnny Flynn and left Steph Curry on the board.
Well, what would you do with a player like that? I mean, there's no place for him here on our team.
Right, we're loaded.
Yeah.
We're loaded.
Yeah.
Was Johnny Flynn the one, or who was it that had the inverted heart? All of his organs were reversed, I don't remember what it's called, but it wasn't. It might have been Johnny Flynn. It was one of those guys, one of those guards they had.
Well,
hey, we got to
Ricky,
mention
of course,
this.
was here for a while, but Johnny Flynn was not.
Yeah. All right. Vikings legend Chuck Foreman. We're with them now at the Cottage Grove Hy-Vee, May 9th, 4 to 6 p.m. Tailgate Spices sampling, autographs, pictures. Again, the Hy-Vee in Cottage Grove on May 9th from 4 to 6. And you're also going to be at the Buffalo Rodeo, June 19th, 20th, and 21st. One or more of those games.
Yeah.
Or those dates for the rodeo. You didn't know about that yet, did you?
I know
not his
about
first
it now.
rodeo.
I know about it now.
Skull Marketing is
Yeah.
going to have a booth there with a lot of you guys.
I got a deal I couldn't refuse just now.
Bingo.
It's
Bingo.
Skull Marketing.
You know, that's that New Jersey thing. He's
So-
a New Jersey guy, you know.
You'll be there with
He told me in his way, hey, you know,
And you're
like,
gonna
this is
be
what you're
there.
gonna do that.
He got
be there under the
you just got
auspices.
You
roped
gotta
into this
yeah,
one.
you gotta understand the
He was
Jersey
like a
guy.
little calf coming out
Yeah.
the chute,
Yeah.
and Bob just threw that rope
yeah.
right around him
Yeah.
and
He
pulled
gave
him
me-
right in.
He gave me a deal I couldn't refuse.
you'll be-
I understand that talk.
You'll be there with Skull Marketing, Tailgate Spices.
Right.
You're going to be there.
It'll be a lot of fun,
It,
too.
it will be a lot of fun. We'll get you on a horse. How about
We have
a-
I'm not getting a horse.
we have a woman riding a buffalo carrying the American flag. Maybe we have you go
I'll be there.
You could be on her from riding behind.
I'll be there and I'll be watching and I'll be participating in whatever, but I'm not getting on any horses.
How about a buffalo?
Not even buffalo.
Nothing like that.
I'll look at him and try to pet him or something.
Down at the petting zoo. Yeah.
All right, now I gotta. I was talking to Jim when we were. He was driving in. I was driving in to do the show, and you happen to have versatility as a sportscaster and announcer because you do games for St. Cloud's hockey team.
The University of Minnesota now. That was last season. Thanks for watching.
Well,
Did a whole season last year.
I was saying you did the St. Cloud hockey for a long time,
Correct.
and that's how people remember you. Nobody remembers Chuck as when he was at New England. They remember him with the Vikings. You are legendary for what you did at St. Cloud. Now you're at Minnesota. Before you know it, you'll be doing NHL national games. But I mean, is it easy? Do a lot of guys can't make that transition, right? To go, don't give me that eye look. To go from doing doing a sportscast to doing play-by-play. What's the toughest thing about it? The fact that you don't have just 3 minutes to get everything in. You got hours.
Well, I like the play-by-play more because you can invest more of your time in it, and the team is behind you because you're kind of their spokesman. Obviously, you try to call the game as fairly as you can, but you obviously add more tidbits about the home game. But hockey is just it's just so much more of a challenge because you can immerse yourself in it. You know, you guys see us when we come out back in the day at Winter Park. We're there for 90 seconds. Oh, can we get a quick soundbite? And boom, we're gone. We don't get to spend all day watching you practice,
Right.
work on your craft. Like Al Shaver told me when I was following him and he was teaching me some of his tricks. He goes, you should be able to identify your team without numbers on. Like you should know his skating style. You should know immediately that that's that guy because you need to know that team inside and out. And I also like that you can talk to the players more. They have a different level of communication with you versus, I'm not the media trying to get you to say something.
Right.
They're more willing to share what they're
That's
really
interesting.
trying to do.
that is really interesting.
I mean, really
it's got to be a really fast call too. I mean, the shots and the assists are so fast. I don't know how you do it.
Right.
That's incredible.
But that's how, you'll know he's a left shot. You know his skating stride. You know his physical attributes. So, okay, that's that kid. That's this kid. But even I really noticed it with the Twins when I did we had them on Channel 29 Sunday afternoon games, and I was the sideline reporter for that. The players would approach you differently. They felt you were on their side.
Right.
And so they would actually open up, Torrey Hunter would say, come on, sit down here. What's going on? Hey, wait, and I go, I got stuff to do. He goes, don't worry. If you get fired, I got you.
Okay, Jim, they also knew what play-by-play guy has ever had a gotcha moment. He knows he can't.
Well, right. But I mean, I like to share the stories of the athletes because all of you guys, Mike and Chuck, there's something special about you that made you what you were. There's a drive in you. There's a competitive spirit in you that the rest of us don't have. And I find that very interesting. I remember you talked to some football players that, we talked about it last week. John Randall, right? Grew up on a dirt floor, kept that picture up to motivate him. So that's what I find is a lot of fun.
All right, Jim, I find you're a lot of fun. How about that for a lousy transition? We're gonna say
that was lousy.
Yes, it was horrible. It'll be better next week. We promise. Thanks for listening. We'll talk to you next time.
On behalf of Vikings legend Chuck Foreman and Fox 9's Jim Rich, I'm Bob Sansevere, and I want to say thank you to all of our listeners and our radio partners, KXRA in Alexandria, KRWC in Buffalo, KDHL in Faribault and Owatonna, KDAL and WDSM in Duluth, WNMT in Hibbing, KTOE in Mankato, AM 660 The Bear, WBHR in St. Cloud, and Wild 102 FM in Roseau. Also, KWOA AM FM in Worthington, and KKBJ in Bemidji, and Bob Total Country serving the Twin Cities of Minneapolis, St. Paul, and surrounding areas. We'll talk to you later.